Hi, welcome to Erin's World Famous. I'm Erin, and on today's episode, we're going to be making a cheesy chicken enchilada soup. Here's the list of ingredients you'll need to make today's recipe. For the full recipe, please check out the description below. We're going to start off by boiling our chicken and making a broth. Start off by taking a bunch of cilantro, remove the stems. I've secured it with a little bit of butcher's twine. You're going to put the stems in the broth and save the leaves for garnish. Next, you'll need to prepare your onions for your broth. Just cut off both ends and remove the paper, and then you can toss the onion in whole. You're going to start off by boiling your chicken. Place your chicken in a large pot. Place it over high heat. Add your whole onion, 4 to 6 garlic cloves, and your cilantro stems. And then you're going to top with water until your chicken is completely covered. I always like to add a couple of teaspoons of chicken bouillon as well. It gives your broth a little extra flavor. You're going to want your broth to boil for about 10 minutes or until your chicken reaches 165. I'm going to move mine over to the stove so I can show you the next step. While your chicken is boiling, it's time to prepare your cheese. I usually use about 8 ounces of Velveeta, 8 ounces of Sharp Cheddar, and about 8 ounces of white cheddar. You want the Velveeta for the creaminess and the silkiness it'll add to the soup, and then the others for just the flavor that it adds. Make sure to shred these nice and fine. The Velveeta you can cube, just because it is very difficult to shred. Sorry if you hear little puppy whines. I can't get cheese out of the fridge in my house without my dog begging for some. This next step is optional. You can use canned enchilada sauce. I prefer to make my own. I actually prefer to grind up my own chilies. It sounds intimidating and hard, but it's way easier than it sounds. You're going to start by popping off the stem. Use kitchen shears, cut down the sides, and then open your pepper. You're going to clean out all the seeds and the little ribbings inside that'll make your sauce bitter. Once your chilies have been de-seeded, I'm using about 5 guajillo chilies and 1 chili de arbol for spice. You're going to break them into little pieces. I like to use a coffee grinder. I find this is the easiest way to blend up spices. It comes in handy for any spice that you want to blend up, and this will make homemade chili powder for the enchilada sauce. You may have to grind your peppers in batches. Here's the first batch. You want it kind of like a fine consistency that'll make for a smoother sauce. Once you've ground all of your peppers into a fine chili powder, you're going to mix in a couple of tablespoons of all-purpose flour and dry spices. We have cumin, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and a pinch of cinnamon. And then also a little bit of Mexican Oregano. I'm using about 2 teaspoons here. I like to give it a little firm pinch and break it up a little bit. That helps release the aroma. And then whisk this all together until fully combined. Now we're going to continue making our enchilada sauce. Heat up a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of a large pot. And wait till it gets hot enough to sizzle once you drop in a little bit of your seasoning. Once your chicken is finished cooking, remove it from the broth and allow it to cool for about 10 minutes so you can shred it. Once your oil is heated up, you're going to mix in your dry mix. This moves very fast, so make sure to have a couple cups of chicken broth and your tomato paste on hand ready to go. You're going to dump in your dry mix and give it a quick whisk. And you're going to allow this to simmer and fry in the oil for about a minute. This will awaken all the herbs and chilies. I added about 1 more tablespoon of oil just to help it move around easier. After sauteing your spices for about a minute, whisk in your tomato paste and allow that to cook for about another minute. Next, you're going to slowly whisk in your chicken broth a little bit at a time, just to get it to fully incorporate. Once you get it thoroughly mixed through, add a little bit more. With your 4 cups of chicken broth mixed into your enchilada sauce, allow it to simmer for 5 to 7 minutes. During that time, You're going to take a couple of cups of your chicken broth and add in 1 cup of instant corn flour or Maseca and mix well to combine. This will help add that corn tortilla flavor that you get from enchiladas, but it'll also help thicken up the soup. After your enchilada sauce has simmered for about 5 to 7 minutes and has slightly thickened, you're going to add in a couple of tablespoons of white vinegar. Next, pour in your masa and broth mixture and whisk to combine. Next, you're going to pour in your remaining broth from which you boiled your chicken in. Give that a good stir and bring it up to a boil. Once your soup has reached a slight simmer, you're going to add in your Velveeta. I'm using about 8 ounces, and you're going to stir it until it's fully incorporated. I use a whisk just because it helps mix it more thoroughly. Make sure to scrape the bottom so the cheese doesn't stick to the bottom of your pot. You'll know that your Velveeta is completely melted when you scrape the bottom and you're no longer pulling up small chunks. With it completely melted, it'll be time to add your shredded cheddar. Next, add in your shredded cheese, about a handful at a time, and whisk to incorporate. Make sure to reserve about a cup of your mixed cheese to top your soup for garnish. Once your cheese is completely melted in your soup, you're going to stir in about a cup of heavy cream, and this will give it a nice, luxurious mouthfeel. After your cream has been added to your soup, carefully add your shredded chicken back in, making sure not to splash, and give a good stir. Allow your soup to simmer for about 10 minutes for all the flavors to incorporate. I'm heating up some vegetable oil in a pan to fry up some tortilla strips for garnish. Heat it over medium heat, and then take corn tortillas, cut them in half, and then I like to cut them in little skinny strips. When your oil's heated, lightly drop in a few tortilla strips and give them a few minutes to fry. Once your tortilla strips turn a light golden brown and crispy, remove them from the oil and place them on a paper towel lined plate to absorb all the excess oil. And then continue on with your remaining tortilla strips until all are fried. After waiting a couple of minutes, sprinkle them with salt. Now it's time to dress your soup. I like to top mine with a little bit of tortilla strips, some shredded cheese, and some freshly chopped cilantro. And here you have your cheesy chicken enchilada soup. This recipe is so easy, it's great for a weeknight meal or just to enjoy on a chilly fall evening. If you've enjoyed today's recipe, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and comment on what you may like to see me cook next. But now it's time to eat. We'll see you next time.